Welcome to the BS Machine. This is your host, Tommy Kendi. I will be your guide through these episodes in 2023. One of the cool things about the BS Machine is that you always get some sort of gold out of every episode. Whether I'm getting guests on, and they're not just any guests, they are guests that have a cool story. Or whether it's me talking and giving you all my wisdom and all the things I've learned in life. Either way, there's always one piece of gold you'll take away from these episodes. So please enjoy and welcome to the BS Machine. G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is your host, Tommy Kendi, and it's an absolute honour to be with you guys today. And I am back. Like, I know, I've been a bit slack the last couple of months. Obviously, there's been a lot of shit that's been happening in my life. Really cool and really shit and whatever else. But look, I'm back and I've had a couple of weeks off. I just got back from Bali, and I love Bali, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been to Bali before. I'm sure a lot of you listening have, but I just spent a week in Bali, and it was such a cool, it's such a beautiful place, isn't it? It's super magical. There's always these really interesting synchronicities that happen to me when I go to Bali, and yeah, it was a really good 8 days. And I'm super happy to be home. And it's funny, man, like as soon as I got home yesterday, and I feel like I've got this new sort of energy that I'm really happy to dive into the next little chapter in life. And yeah, I mean, there's so many cool things happening in my life, but also this time that I've been I've put a couple of episodes out here and there, but I've definitely had a good 2 or 3 month break from the podcast. But look, to be honest with you, it's it really showed me this little break where I've just sort of sat back, is that, you know, if I feel like I'm forcing shit, it's never really going to come out in a good way. And on reflection, I'm really happy that I've had this time off from even socials. Like, I haven't really done much stuff on socials, because at the end of the day, the way that I like to do things is that I want to get passionate. You know, I really want to get passionate about things, and unless I'm passionate, it just feels like I'm pushing shit uphill, and it never really relates. But and you know what? Sometimes you do have to take a little hiatus from, you know, I mean, whatever, socials or even life. Sometimes you just have to take a little hiatus from life and just sit back and go, you know what? I'm just going to do the shit that feels good for me. You know, I'm going to do the things that give me energy, the things that fill me up. And I reckon, I mean, I'm just talking about myself, but I reckon with me, there's so many things that I do in life that makes me feel like I'm forcing, like I'm constantly forcing. It's like, all right, I've got to do this because of whatever else, all these expectations that I have of me, expectations that I feel others have of me as well. And it's all, to be honest, it's all fucking made up. At the end of the day, one of the coolest things on reflecting over the last 2 or 3 months is I've really done things that fill me up, that bring me joy. And I feel like that's when synchronicities really do happen, is that when you fill yourself up, and then there's this other whole energy around filling yourself up, because you start to trust that whatever you're doing, even though it doesn't look like it's manifesting on the outside world, whatever you're doing is happening in its own way. And whatever you're doing is you can't rush shit. And that's not what the podcast is about, but I'm just talking about what my reflections have been over the last few months of just not forcing anything, just sitting back and just being with who I am. And it makes the journey so much more fun, just totally trusting and believing that things are unfolding in the best way for myself, but also the best way for everyone that's involved in and around my life. And so, the key thing I want to talk about today, which I've really, really felt on every level over the last few months, has been my emotions. I mean, I have felt emotions in the last 3 months that I didn't even know were available for human beings to feel. And these emotions have literally overtaken my physical body. Some of these emotions I've really enjoyed, and some of these emotions I just wanted to run a fucking mile. I wanted to run, because when you're feeling this tension or these emotions in the body that you feel them in the body. When you feel them, and the shitty ones especially, you just want to run. But also with the good ones, you want to like hold on to them, don't we? We want to hold on to the good emotions like love and joy and flow and freedom. We want to hold on to this, like, please don't go. But life is this little wave, isn't it? It goes up and down, up and down. So if you're in a shitty place right now, you can bet your bottom dollar that shit's about to get better. But also if you're on a high, we have to be okay with the fact that we can't be on a high constantly, because then we don't know what the highs would be unless we feel the lows. So it doesn't mean that if you're on a high, shit's about to go downhill, but there's always this little plateau or little downturn, and the downturns have to happen, because in the downturns, that's where we get our biggest lessons. And that's where I've got my biggest lessons, is when I'm like in the fucking depth of these heavy, yucky emotions of uncertainty, of guilt, of sadness, of loss, these things. I mean, when we're in this place, that's where we get our biggest lessons. And we can get our lessons in two ways. One, consciously, and two, unconsciously. If we're getting our lessons unconsciously, it basically means that we get the lessons, but we don't remember them. So we don't reflect on them, and then we don't sit there going, oh, okay, cool. Well, what's going to happen now? Like, how can I move on from this by taking the lessons with me? And on a conscious level, when we get the lessons in the downturn, we get the lessons and we're like, oh my God, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to journal. I'm going to, put these down and get these happening. And once we have that, then we have our epic lessons, and then we move into the higher, and then we don't fuck ourselves over again, do we? Because we've already learned the lesson. So when we're in the lower, I actually believe is that it's actually more important to be super aware when we're in that depth, in that darkness, and be really aware of all the lessons that are coming to us. It's guidance, isn't it? So we really have to take ownership over our emotions, because our emotions are that key, that lesson, that those fucking the guru. Our emotions they're our guru, and they're the things that are showing us what to do and how to move forward. And we can't push emotions away. And I know a lot of people at the moment are going through, anxiety and all sorts of different feelings of being depressed, even full out depression, negativity. There's shit going on in everyone's life. There's a lot of stuff going on. And in these moments, we could either sit back and just fucking give up, or we could sit back and go, all right, I'm feeling some anxiety, I'm feeling some depression, I'm feeling some fucking confusion and uncertainty. So let's just be aware, what are the lessons that I'm getting? What's actually happening? What's going on in my body? How can I move forward? What are the things that I need to do here to really move forward and get the lessons for when I get into the higher? And so all of us have to take full out taking ownership and take responsibility, ownership for our emotions. And when we do that, that's when the cool shit starts to happen, and we can start to explore the concept of emotional ownership and its impact on our personal growth, because that's also ultimately what it comes down to. We're all expanding, and when we're expanding, that's the cool part, guys. That's when we get to try shit out. And I'm doing this constantly at the moment. I'm just going, yeah, cool, I'll do that. Let's go. And some of it is really working out, and other things are just like staying stagnant. I'm going, okay, where's the energy? What looks like it's moving, and I'm taking ownership. I'm like, all right, cool. Even though I thought the other thing was going to happen, it's obviously this thing that's happening now, so I'm going to put all my attention into that and let it grow, let it flower. But I don't know where it's going to go. This time in Bali, man, did I get to fucking hang out with some epic people. And by the way, if you guys want if anyone that's listening that's going to Bali or Indonesia anytime soon, hit me up. I've got some incredible body workers that I can refer you on to, who are like proper, like I'm talking like proper body workers that do shit to your body, and you're like, whoa, I was feeling things fly out of my energy system, and I'm not talking spiritual shit. I'm talking like actual, like proper, these guys are like proper body workers, and so yeah, if anyone wants any guidance or whatever, if you're going, just hit me up on wherever, and I'll refer you to a couple of really great people. So I mean, look, in terms of emotions, that's what it's such a powerful thing. And I know, there's a lot of people that talk about, and I hear, you watch Instagram and all this type of stuff, and you see all the little things. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I saw this thing the other day about our thoughts, how our thoughts go into our emotions, and then, the emotions sort of dictate how the subconscious relate, which is true, and the subconscious, sort of creates our life, and I've talked about this on previous podcasts, that our subconscious is, doesn't really give a fuck about, what it's getting fed, and our emotions, the way we feel, feeds the subconscious, and then that sort of pushes out your experience of your reality. And it's and the thought patterns, it's funny because a lot of people go, watch your thoughts, you gotta watch your thoughts, because your thoughts are feeding your emotions, and then your emotions are feeding your da 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 da. And it's true, that's what happens. But ultimately, when we try and watch our thoughts, it becomes so fucking frustrating. It does. We're like, oh my God, I just had this thought that I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Oh my God, what do I do? So you make yourself even more anxious by watching your thoughts, right? So is there a direct access to our emotions? Is there a direct access to getting into the emotional body and shifting that dynamic? And the answer is yes. And yeah, of course, it comes with thoughts. I mean, Bob Proctor, he's recently passed away. Bob Proctor has these incredible mantras, and one of his mantras, which is quite famous, is I'm so happy and grateful now that what is it? I'm so happy and grateful now that my income is, there we go, that it is, yes, something like that. It's I'm so happy and grateful now that my income is increasing in quantities from different sources through on a continuous basis, something like that. I'm so happy and grateful now that my level of income is in increasing quantities through actually, I want to get this right, so I want to where is it? Oh, you know what? Something like that. Anyway, it's a mantra. I'm so happy and grateful now that my income is in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. That's what it is. And that's the mantra. And apparently, if you say that mantra to yourself over and over again, 2,000 times a day, then you start believing it. And once you believe, you trust, and then it actually happens, right? But yeah, that's true. It does. And I mean, I know with mantra work, any type of mantra, whether it's yoga, whether it's a mantra like Bob Proctor does, the shit works, man. But you got to constantly remind yourself to go, oh, I've got to say that, and I've got to keep saying that mantra until I start believing it, and it's cool. But then, I mean, that it's sort of, it's hard to believe. So I like getting direct access to my emotions, you know. I like getting straight in there. And I know that you've got the physical body to enable you to punch yourself straight into the emotions. So to shift our state, to shift our emotional state, there has to be a level of just fucking trusting that you're in the right place at the right time with the right people around you. You just have to trust it. And even if you're not fucking enjoying life right now, you have to explore the concept of emotional ownership. And once you take ownership over your emotions, that it's not like something that's in control of you, that you're controlling your own emotions, that you start to accept what your emotions are. And then you can navigate life's challenges really effectively. And you know, the practical strategies, I mean, you know, sometimes it is, you're like, oh, well, Tom, you're saying all this great stuff, but how do I do it? How do I do it? And the thing is that there is obviously practical strategies to get into your emotional body and start to shift it. And I mean, even as I'm talking, intuitively, what do you get? Like, what do you get for yourself if you were to close your eyes down? And that's the thing, you have the fucking answer. And I'm not saying I'm not going to give you some practical tools, because I am, but I mean, if I was to fucking turn this podcast off right now and you had to get the answer yourself, you'd be constantly questioning yourself, wouldn't you? You'd be questioning it. You'd be like, fuck, is that right? And then, oh, maybe that's not right. So am I doing this right? Yes, you fucking are doing it right. You've got, and part of doing it right. Okay, so let me get into it. Practical strategies, I'll give it to you right now, is one, taking ownership over your emotions, which I've already talked about. Self-care. Self-care is so important. You sitting in a world of emotional hurt is not self-care. You sitting there going, yeah, but I'm just depressed, and I'm just this, I don't know why, but you know, this is happening and that's happening, but I'm just depressed. It's a fucking story. Like, take ownership over your story. Whatever you're telling yourself is literally feeding your emotional state. So when you're sitting there going, I don't know why I'm just depressed, I don't know why I'm just anxious, every day I wake up and I've got anxiety, and you know, and I'm not taking the piss, guys, because fuck me, dude, have I experienced that on a massive level, you know, to the point where, yeah, I mean, trust me, I've experienced full out anxiety. And you know, wait, before I even go further, I'm going to tell you something happened the other day. This was not last week, because I was in Bali last week. This was the week before last week, the week before I went to Bali. Lots of shit going on in my life. Like, there's work stuff going on, personal stuff. There's this new thing that's coming out in 3 or 4 weeks, which I'll be, you might hear about down the track. But anyway, there's a lot going on, and a lot of it is going the way I thought, and a lot of it isn't. And I feel like, oh my God, am I missing out on shit? Oh my God, I'm going to do that. And there's lots of stuff going on. So anyway, my head totally going a million miles an hour. Even gives me anxiety fucking talking about it. But anyway, so what happened was, I thought, you know what, I'll go to yoga class. I go to a yoga class. At the end of yoga, there's this, if you don't practice yoga, the last pose is called Shavasana, where you're basically just lying down for 5 to 10 minutes, taking in and integrating the practice. And so anyway, I'm lying in Shavasana, and then the teacher goes, all right, get up and come into a comfortable seat. So I get up, get into a comfortable seat, and the whole world was just I got so dizzy. I've never been dizzy like that ever. Like full out fucking vertigo where the whole world was moving. And I'm going, holy shit, what the hell was that? Like, wow. And I just felt totally off balance. I couldn't even stand up. I had to sit on my mat. I thought I was going to fall back, and it was really, really scary. And I'm like, my ego starts going crazy. It's like, oh, there's this wrong with you, that wrong with you, da, da. And I'm like, no, dude, fucking stop. It's not that easy. It doesn't just happen like that. And so anyway, so I went home and my head was just full, and yes, still dizzy. Every time I lied down, the world just started moving. Every time I got up, the world just started moving. I mean, I could still walk around and whatever, but it was really fucking scary. I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, so I go to my, I just thought, mate, because I was doing headstands and whatever, maybe I thought I'll put my neck out. Anyway, went to my chiro, and the chiro, and this is part of self-care, is just listening to what's actually going on. Go to my chiro, the chiro goes, mate, your jaw is totally fucked up. Like, it's so tight. You've been clenching down. So he did this work on me, on my fucking jaw, where he put this thing over his index finger and he stuck it into my mouth, and he was manipulating my jaw on both sides. I've never felt that much pain. Anyway, he's pushing down, and it was weird because the pain felt less painful than life. That's ultimately where I was at. The pain that he was putting in, like pushing these pressure points inside my jaw, the pain of that, even though it was incredibly intense, it almost felt good because it was less painful than what I was experiencing on the outer world, and he took his thing out of my mouth. Let me just reiterate. He took his index finger out of my mouth and put his hand on my heart, and I bawled my fucking eyes out. And he's like, what's coming up? And because I'm so comfortable with my emotions, it was one of those cries where it's like, this happened 2 weeks ago. And, fuck, man, crazy how much shit we hold on to in our body. And he put out a hand on my heart. I'm bawling. He's like, what's coming up? And I just said it straight out. I go, dude, I don't believe that I'm supported anywhere in my life. And that doesn't mean that I don't have an amazing relationship with my partner or with my mum or whatever. But I felt like there was nothing in life where I could lean back on. And fuck, it hurt, man. But it also felt so good in that moment. I took ownership over what was going on. And so that night, the dizziness went away. It all went away. I still felt a bit lighter in the head, so I went back the next day. We did exactly the same thing around the jaw. Otherwise, but this time it was my left jaw that was painful. So I was pushing that, same thing. Took his fucking index finger out, bawled my eyes out, hand on heart. What's coming up? Not feeling supported. Anyway, I owned it. It was fucking amazing, man. And then after that, totally fine. Went to Bali, had a great time. Haven't been dizzy since, and I feel great. No vertigo, nothing. Yoga, headstands, all that type of shit, nothing. Totally fine. So we have to prioritize self-care, because when we're being drawn, when energy is building up on us, that it's there. And the body's holding on to that shit. So you have to find a way. You have to find some way to release that. And I find that, things like ice baths or some type of fucking creating some physical pain is going to release all that shit, and so there has to be a part of you that agrees with me, that goes, yeah, you know what, Tommy, you're right. But also, you also have to agree that when you're not taking ownership over your own emotional stuff, it's just going to build up. And for a lot of people I work with in terms of my coaching clients, they realize they have this ongoing story I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, work this, work that, fucking this, fucking that, no. And they have this language, this constant story that just keeps going, and they forget to take a break. They forget to take a hiatus. And if you think that you don't have the capability to take a hiatus, you're fucking full of shit. If you feel like you don't know, and look, it doesn't mean that you're gonna have to pick up from your whole life and go off and spend 6 months in a some sanctuary or some place in India and spend 6 months under a guru, or a month or 2 months. It's not about that. It's just, what's your way of having a hiatus? What does it mean? It could just mean that you stop fucking forcing shit just for a little bit. Just stop forcing. Just come back to yourself. Nothing to force, nothing to push. That could be your hiatus. A hiatus could be so many different things. So I took a 2 or 3 month hiatus from all the craziness of me trying to push and force and get shit done. And so, does it work? Did for me. Would it work for you? If you don't know, then fucking try it. And what's a hiatus for you? You've got to do it. So get it done. Do it. Self-care, taking ownership over your emotions, and hiatus. I think it's very important for a lot of us. And if you're still listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure that is going to relate to you. And I genuinely believe that it will. So, I mean, guys, ultimately, I could still keep going, but I've got... Man, that there's so much wisdom that I've received over the last little bit of time. There's so much, and I have so much to share, and I wish I could just keep going and share it with you now. But I'm going to stop now, and I will see you next week, because I will, and so I'm back onto it, guys. I'm here, I'm back, and it's super. I feel grateful, I really do, because this podcast is an incredible method for me to communicate with the masses, and it's and I'm sure that those of you listening appreciate my insight too. So I receive the thanks, even though I'm not in front of you and you're probably just listening to me, but I receive your thanks because I feel it, and thank you. And yeah, I'm sure you got some sort of gold out of that 26 minutes. Oh, excuse me. What's coming up? I just want to fill you in on what's coming up, but I can't really talk too much about it. But yeah, anyway, there's going to be some stuff happening over the next month or two, which I'm sure you'll hear about. And other than that, this podcast, I'm really going to try and get some great guests on for the potty over the next month or two. And other than that, guys, if you're wanting any guidance, feel free to hit me up, and I'd be happy to. And anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. Just fucking go do some shit. Love you guts, and I'll see you guys next week. Love ya. See ya.